Election day in Georgia now just 18 days away, and the race is extremely tight. The latest polls show that Republicans Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, they're leading Democrats Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff by about 3 points in their respective races, and that's within the margin of error, so the thing's a toss-up. Now, they are getting national attention because if both Democrats win, the U.S. Senate will be controlled by the Dems just in time for Biden's inauguration. Now, the interest within the state also off the charts. More than 1.1 million Georgians have already cast their ballots since early voting started just this week. Amazing. But things, they are getting ugly for the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, a Republican who voted for Trump, was endorsed by Trump, supported the Trump administration. But the president viciously has turned on Kemp after the governor refused to help him overturn the state's results and hand the win to Trump. Now, Kemp says he and his family are getting mercilessly harassed by right-wing nuts and Trump supporters. His 19-year-old daughter, well, she is bearing the brunt of it. The governor is irate, and when you see some of these messages, rightfully so. Now, a lot of big-name Democrats feel that the dissension in the GOP could help Warnock and Ossoff at the ballot box. Even James Carville weighing in, saying, quote, "I think Trump wants Loeffler and Perdue to lose so he can blame Kemp. It is the craziest thing I've seen. If he keeps it up, it's good for Democrats." But the Senate races are also causing a big spike in first-time voters in Georgia. 76,000 people have registered to vote since November's election, more than half of them under the age of 35. Those new voters could sway the election, especially when you consider that Biden beat Trump by just 12,000 votes in the state. I want to bring in my guest now. He's a man who founded a group that focuses on getting young people registered and involved. Ian Bridgeforth from Georgia Shift. In fact, his group, he joins us now. Ian, thanks for the time. And when I was looking at those new registrations, more than half of them, I said, are under 35, and more than half of them are African American. I'm curious, is it that they're just being asked to be engaged for the first time, or is this election mean a lot more to them than maybe it had in the past? Why do we see so many people through groups like yours getting involved in the process for the first time?
I think young people are just excited to be in this process, and they see that, you know, their power matters, and they understand that in the general election, young people were the catalyst to make this change. And so I think young people know that they have this power, and they're going to show it.
Is it just that they get to have a voice? Is there an issue that you found that they say, you know what, register me. I want to get involved and not just be registered, but I want to vote. Have you found issues that is driving this younger population more than others?
I think, you know, for the most part, it's the same issues that were in the general. I think they're issues of jobs, COVID relief, student loans, climate change. There's a whole host of issues, criminal justice reform, all these things that are the Senate can impact. And so they want to make sure that they have a voice, and they're impacting these elections in January.
Ian, obviously you're on the ground here. You have a sense, I mentioned the number of people that have already voted early so far. Do you have a sense who's really driving that vote right now? Do you think traditionally Democrats vote by mail and vote early in larger number than Republicans? Is that kind of your sense playing itself out so far?
I think it's in-person early voting as well as voting by mail. I think, you know, in our local area here in Augusta, we can compare the early voting from general to now, and early voting is up higher than it was in November, and so we see that as promising signs that people are wanting to come out and vote and make their voice heard.
It's no secret, Ian, we saw this leading up to the general and again in the primary. There are forces that are trying to disenfranchise voters and even suppress the vote. Talk about some of the challenges folks may not realize. They're making it harder for people to vote than need be, for example, in Georgia.
So I think the biggest thing, and a lot of this is misinformation and those kinds of things, so I think the biggest thing for us is to make sure that we're being proactive and on the forefront of making sure that young people and everyone else knows that where they can vote, how they can vote, you know, making sure that they know where their early voting location is, if they want to do a drop box, showing like where their drop box is. And so we want to make sure we have all that information as quickly as possible. And I think the biggest thing is being that trusted messenger. So groups like us, other groups, who've been doing this work for a while, so that they know us in the community. And so that's, I think, our biggest advantage, is that it's not some random person that say, oh yeah, they were canvassing at my door in 2018, 2019, as early as 2016, 2017, and even beyond. And so you have to really invest in what you know and the people that you know, and making sure that the groups on the ground are doing that work consistently.
Ian, I wish you guys the best of luck. I really think it's amazing what you guys are doing there. Thank you again for the time.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, folks, when we come back here, I'm going to wrap things up for a very long week. I'll see you in a couple minutes.